kick it off.
Good afternoon, everybody. I move that we open the meeting. Is that what I do?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. I call to order the meeting, and looks like we need to go over the minutes. So,
Yeah, if you will have the clerk call the roll.
Clerk, call the roll. Thank you.
Okay. Teresa Hernandez,
Here?
Deborah Shetler,
Here.
Todd Hadnot,
Here.
Aaron Melby,
Here.
Chris Grintner,
Here.
Lowell Moore, Tina Behringer,
Here.
and Leisha Strang.
Here.
Okay.
And just to confirm, we did send out the required notice for Kansas Open Meetings Act. So now we can go on to approval of the minutes.
How do we do this? Who reads the minutes, or just
Yeah, you don't have to
review?
read them. You just ask if anybody, if anybody's got any changes, or if anybody wants to make a motion to approve the minutes, and then you'll take
Okay.
a motion and second, and then vote. So
Okay. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes? Yes. Okay. Is there a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented and printed.
Thank you. There's been a motion. Any ayes?
is there a second?
Oh,
We
is there
need a
second?
motion and a second?
I second it.
Okay, thank you.
And just all in favor,
All in favor,
say aye.
say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion to approve the minutes is moved.
Okay.
Boy, I have to get better at this.
You're doing fine. Just plug right down the list. So the next item on the agenda is Citizens Forum. Doesn't look like we have anybody here.
Okay.
So we can go through that, and then I'll take on we'll just go right into the staff report. Don't have a whole lot today to go over. There's a couple items in your packet that Chief Morton's gonna go through with you. Looks like that starts with talk about the CIM a little bit, or you don't have to. That's just in there for their review. Or go ahead.
If you're not familiar, each department throughout the city presents the commission information memorandum each week throughout the year at different times throughout the year. And in October 10th was the police department's turn to do that. And I just talked about some of the things that we've done over the last several months, and just wanted to point out specifically that we told the commission about the demonstration that we did with this group with regards to the wrap restraint, and that we reviewed that piece of equipment with you. So that was mainly the reason why I wanted to include this, so you knew that we were sharing that information with the city's governing body. Any questions about any of the other topics or that topic that was discussed in that report? Okay.
Yeah, keep going.
And then also, we included in the packet of information, wanted to make you aware that the police department is going to be bringing an item before the city commission potentially this month, hopefully this month, on December 19th with regards to the purchase of a new armored vehicle for the police department. The one that we have currently, as listed on the form, is at the top of the page, and it's a 2006 Toyota Puma. That vehicle is on loan to the department from Military Surplus 1033 program. And currently it's has some mechanical issues and has had for several months. We're working to get it repaired, but we've obtained some funding through some outside sources to help pay for a portion of a new one, and actually 2/3 of it. And then we're going to ask the city commission to approve the other remaining funds for that purchase. And would be brand new vehicle. It's still going to, if they approve it, it's still going to take about 12 months for it to be built and shipped here, so it'll be quite some time. The one that we currently have that's having the mechanical issues would then be returned to the 1033 program. We would no longer have it anymore. It's got several things that aren't ideal with the vehicle. One of the big things is that it's a right side drive manual transmission. Some people have hard enough when it's a left side drive and it's manual transmission, but if you can imagine being on that side and shifting with your left hand and doing all that in the opposite direction, that's one of the big things. And then the other is it's really tight inside of that vehicle. And our team has 12 members, and then usually one fire department tactical medic that's usually with them on call outs, and that this vehicle will not accommodate all of those. It'll only accommodate 8 people. The new vehicle would accommodate those 13 people, so and have much more room for, if, you know, heaven forbid, we would have a situation where we needed to evacuate people from, you know, a very serious situation, and able to get those wounded officers or citizens into the vehicle and have more room to do that evacuation if it was needed. So we just wanted to inform you and answer any questions that you might have about the request. It's not approved. But we are going to bring it to the City Commission for consideration yet this month. Anybody have any specific questions?
Curious, could you just tell me more? I've always heard about these, but I've never really understood what. Typically, when you see different situations, either in movies or in real live action, like police cam footage, they typically take cover behind their car. So I guess what's the difference in utilizing this armored vehicle versus another type of vehicle?
Well, this is built for taking incoming rounds, whereas an automobile, of course, is not. That's kind of your last ditch if you're in that situation. And typically these are, when it's used, is more planned events that we will potentially likelihood of encountering somebody that's armed and being able to if we, a lot of times, if we have a barricaded person in the residence, of course, using, a patrol car is not an adequate tool to move up closer to, if you need to communicate and put a communication device into the residence, get up close to the residence, that this is what you want to be in so you're protected and in case there's incoming rounds. And when you don't have this, everybody has to be way back from the scene. And whereas this, we can get a lot closer to what is going on and coordinate the activities closer to the scene. We've had some instances where actually there's been people inside of residences that aren't involved with necessarily, maybe they're hostages, maybe they are people that are just wanting to get out of the house, and opposed to them having to run a great distance to get cover or be somewhere protected, we can have the vehicle closer to the house. Our people are safe, and if somebody is able to break free or get free, then we can get them behind the vehicle and in the vehicle for that protection.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yep.
It's not something that's deployed a whole lot. It's one of those things, you hope you don't have to use it, but man, if you need it, it's good to have. I think generally for our department, it's really mostly used for things like barricaded suspects or search warrants, things where that you're going into immediate danger, right there off the bat from the beginning.
Or there's a high likelihood, yeah. And, we had a situation here it was May 2021, where we had an individual that had killed a woman here in town and was held up in a house in the north end of town. And we used it during that situation, of course, and you know, we were able to get close. We actually had the Highway Patrol's vehicle, armored vehicle as well. We needed more than one, and we were able to bring that to a successful conclusion without any shots fired or anybody getting hurt.
Chief, when people say that there are weapons that are armor piercing, are they talking about able to pierce through that?
I know this particular vehicle would be able to take a 50 caliber round to both the windows and the sides, and that's a fairly large round. I'm not completely sure about armor piercing, and those, quite frankly, are something, and Jacob could probably talk to it. I don't know that that's something readily available commercially to purchase. Now, there's sometimes that they do make them into the population, but it's not something we normally see.
Yeah, I think that's pretty rare. And a 50 caliber is a pretty big sized for a civilian. Not very many people have those because they're very expensive. So it's a pretty unusual round for just people in the normal population to have. And then armor piercing stuff is even, I mean, that's specialized different kinds of rounds, and that they're not very common at all. You'd have to really know what you're doing to build your own, or I'm not even sure you can purchase them commercially.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't completely know the answer to that, but at least if I know 50 caliber, and that's a pretty big round to be able to withstand.
Are you able to share the price tag of this? Or?
Sure. It's with the shipping here, it's going to be over $300,000. And once again, we have a couple of outside funding sources that are going to contribute roughly a little over $200,000 for it.
So not cheap, but we do expect something like this to last 20 to 25 years. I mean, it should have a pretty long usable life. So.
Yeah, and one of the other things that is nice about this that we're requesting is that it's on a Ford chassis. My understanding is that it's a Ford engine, whereas this particular one that we have, the Toyota Puma, the parts and such have to come from South Africa. And so that's part of the reason why it's been down for so long, is because we've been waiting on the part that it needs to fix it. So it'll be nice to have, you know, the local dealership, of course, won't be able to do everything on it, but if a lot of the mechanical things, motor, things of that nature, they should be able to take care of and have parts for.
Can I ask how often you deploy this vehicle out for situations in the community?
Yeah, I would say there's probably, actually I have some information here. We're looking between probably around 14 and 15 times a year. And a lot of that is planned events such as like drug search warrants where, and I'm not talking all drug search warrants, I'm just talking ones that we have information where there's a likelihood that somebody could be armed. And that's looking at, you know, information we have, intelligence that we have about the individual from informants, other police reports, past criminal history, to determine whether or not you know, that there's a likelihood that the person could be armed, so then we're using it. The other thing is for situations that involve SWAT that we maybe don't have that information, we don't use the armored vehicle. We have another vehicle that's just a van, and our SWAT team members use that to go out, if that makes sense.
So I'm assuming that information will be included in the staff report that goes forward. So it's not fully done, or we would have included it here. But once we get that done and it goes to the city commission, I can provide that to the board just so you can have that information.
Yes.
But there'll be more of the statistics, you know, how many times we use it, how often it's gone out. I know you have all that stuff that you're working to put together, so we can get it out to you.
So, any other questions on the armored vehicle? Okay. That's all I have unless you're ready to move on to the new business, Jacob.
Yeah, I don't think, unless you have some questions, we can just jump right into the new business if you want to, which is license plate reader overview and policy review. And that's also Chief Morton, so.
So, we had a request that went before the Salina City Commission on November 21st relative to entering into an agreement with Flock Safety to purchase 22, not purchase, actually enter into a service agreement with Flock Safety for 22 license plate readers that are fixed. If you watch Wichita news much in the evening, local news, you probably, once a month maybe hear about their use of this particular equipment in their city and some of their successes, as well as some of the surrounding communities also use this same equipment. The City Commission approved this agreement. It's a 3-year agreement. We pay an annual cost for them. They're going to be stationed along the roads at different locations throughout town. And really, it's a investigative tool to be used to help us identify vehicles that are stolen. In Salina, we have over 100 vehicles stolen annually, which seems like a lot, and we do. And we also have other vehicles that come into our community that are stolen from other communities. And but not only that, it's also has the technology is able to, a lot of times we just have partial license plates, we just have vehicle descriptions such as a red Chevy pickup, blue Ford, and we're able to use those descriptors to actually search the data that's in there for those vehicles without a tag number to try to identify, suspects in crimes. Here recently, there was a Crime Stoppers that we put out that contained a suspect vehicle the individuals were involved in some thefts at the YMCA. We didn't have a tag number, but we had, a picture of the vehicle from surveillance footage, and we could have used that to search these license plate readers for that vehicle and potentially developed suspects in that case without even having to put the Crime Stoppers out. So we really think that it's going to give us some good information and help clear up cases and help us locate more quickly vehicles that have been stolen in Salina and hopefully get them recovered and back to their owners very quickly. One of the things that came up during the City Commission meeting, Mayor Davis had suggested that I might bring our draft policy with regards to this system to this group to have them take a look at it to see if there was any suggestions with regards to our policy and what you may want to add or if you had questions about it. And that's why we've included that in the packet of information that you have today. I will tell you that both the pictures of the vehicle and the tags are only maintained in Flock Safety system for a period of 30 days. So after that period, it's no longer able to be searched. And when an officer within the agency wants to do a search for a tag or a vehicle, they're going to have to list with regards to their search either a case number that's associated with it, or if they don't have a case number, a crime and a location of where that crime occurred before during that search. And all their activity within the system is logged and can be audited later on. And they're going to have to be trained before they're actually allowed to use the system once it's up and running. And so with that said, our draft policy is here. Not sure if you had an opportunity to look at it yet, but wondered if you had any suggestions or questions about what we've already included in the policy. We do have a few more things that we need to add to it ourselves, but wanted to see what your feedback might be.
I also want to just mention that so we're not new to license plate readers within the department. We've had mobile license plate readers in the past. We've had other stationary ones that you can move around. This is just a kind of an extension of what we've done in the past. There's certainly in this program a lot more than we've ever had, but it isn't something that's completely new to the police department.
So you said that only particular officers would be able to use this. Is this kind of like part of a group of officers that would be assigned to this, or just different shift officers?
No,
or-
actually, the plan is to allow all of the officers to have access, but they have to be trained in the use of the system first before we will give them access.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll have a login and a password. I mean, it's a cloud-based system, so you'll log into the web and log in. You just have to, I guess the main point is you have to have a real reason to get in there. You can't just go in there and look at the data without having a purpose for looking at the data. That was some of the concern that came up was, there's information out there that, maybe we don't, or people are concerned that they have access to information that maybe they shouldn't, or that they could use it in a way that was inappropriate. Well, the police officers and actually people all across the city have access to information all the time, and we have policies about that, not being able to use that information nefariously. And this is just another kind of way to make sure that we're telling our officers that they need to use the information appropriately, and it will be tracked and it will be managed. And if somebody does, get into the system inappropriately, then they'll be disciplined. So,
And I may not explain this well, but part of the reason why all the officers are going to have access is because the officers will be able to log into the system in their cars. And so if there's a stolen vehicle that passes by one of the license plate readers in their particular area of town, they're going to be able to get an alert saying that this car went by this location. So they're going to need to know, okay, well, I need to be going that direction to try to locate this vehicle.
Okay. And so the vehicle itself has to be registered in some way as being stolen?
Correct.
So a license plate reader on my car, for example, it won't do anything. It's not stolen.
Correct.
Thank God.
This company's tied into what's called the National Crime Information Center, which is through the FBI. And so when we have stolen vehicles, stolen guns, other items of property that have serial numbers, what the officers do is they fill out a form, and it's provided to our communications folks, and then they enter it into what's called NCIC, which is what I just described. And then so when an officer does a traffic stop anywhere in the United States, if it's in that system and a check's ran on that tag, then it will show the information relative to it being reported stolen, same way with a gun or whatever. It's a really good tool, and so they draw that data, the tag data, into their system, so when a car passes by and that tag is in the NCIC system, then it knows to alert that it's in the area or has passed one of these cameras. The other thing that I didn't mention is the license plate readers aren't built they don't have facial recognition, they don't issue tickets, they don't track speeding. That's not what their purpose is, and that's not what they're built for. They just take pictures, motion-activated pictures, as a car passes by of the rear of the car. And in most cases, you're not even going to see the occupants of the vehicle. You're going to see mainly the rear of the vehicle in the photograph.
So if you drive by, it will take a picture of your vehicle, whether your license plate is on the hit list or not. But that's also important because there could be somebody that says, hey, somebody came into my gas station in a red Cadillac at 2:30 in the morning and they stole all of our candy bars. The officers can go into their car, do a search for red Cadillac, see if it's hit anywhere in town around that time frame, and they can kind of develop a suspect list that way.
Yeah.
So it is broader than just it's reading a certain list of license plates. It does capture everything that goes by, if that makes sense. And that's been, I think, very effective for the city of Wichita and even for us in some of the cases where we've found people in other communities that drove by a license plate reader in Wichita that we were looking for. So it's been very effective.
Yeah, they started out with a pilot program, I believe it was in 2019, which the City of Wichita Police Department, and with 25 cameras, and they're up to 134, 135 now. And so I don't think they would make that type of investment if it wasn't being effective in helping them, recover stolen property and helping them solve criminal cases in their community. As well as there are several area communities around Wichita that also use this system as well.
So what's the big difference between, I'm sorry, I know you mentioned that, but what's the major difference between this one and current?
Previously, we had some mobile license plate readers. We had two of them that were actually mounted on police cars. And that equipment we had for 5.5 years, and it just wasn't working right anymore, and we were having to replace some parts and some computer boards in them, and they're pretty expensive for a system that was 5.5 years old. So last year in 2021, we finally essentially took them out of service. And the difference is, when you use a mobile system, the officer's there and it's catching the tags as you're going by them. And I think we all know that in most cases, criminal activity is taking place when we're not there. So that's kind of where the fixed cameras fill in that gap, is they're recording information when we're not present, and we will now have the capability of going back and searching some of that when we have a legitimate reason to be searching for that information.
Okay.
Does it notify you in real time if it tags a stolen vehicle?
It's my understanding it's fairly quickly. There's a little bit of time in between when you get it, but I don't remember the exact time frame, but fairly quickly within the time that it passes, they'll get a notice.
Cool, thanks.
Any questions or suggestions on the policy that any of you might have? And also to Mr. Wood's point, our officers have access to a lot of sensitive data now, and to his point, if people are misusing this data or any other data, depending on the severity, you're looking at severe discipline and could potentially be looking at criminal charges and losing your job. So we take it very seriously that we have access to this and have been given access to it. So we will not allow misuse without some sort of repercussions. Okay.
Yeah, I don't, any other questions on the actual draft policy itself? Comments? Okay. Do I need to make a motion or
No,
something?
there's
Just-
no, you don't need to approve anything. It's just your ability to review. And we may make some additional changes, and as we do, we can provide that back to the board. But I just wanted to get your take. And if you have feedback, if something comes to you later on, if you want to email me or Chief and say, hey, this is something that I thought of after the fact. We know you don't have a great deal of time to go through all this stuff, but we'd be happy to take a look at that.
And we may or may not have discussed this before, but a great majority of our policies are online. now on the police department's website, and this policy, once it's finalized, will be online as well for you or anybody else to review once it's done.
So if you want to move on to other business, this would be the board's opportunity. If you have something you want to bring to the board, you can do that now. Okay, I just have one thing. A couple of board members today have asked me about their term on the board, and I know at the beginning things were kind of staggered a little bit with board terms, so I'm going to send an email out to everybody so that you know exactly when your term is, when it expires, and all that stuff. So I can get that done here in the next week. And with that, if we want to move on, if you have something, go ahead. Sure.
Yes, I do have one question about the search for a new chief.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have an update. We're making progress, but we're just not quite there yet. So I don't really have much else to tell you other than that we're making progress. So
Okay, and so it's still just maybe even putting it out there to ask for applicants, or?
we've received some applicants and we've had some interviews, and we're kind of vetting a couple of applicants, and we're just
Okay.
going down that road
Okay.
with the process. So I'm hopeful that in the next, I'm going to say 30 days, that we're able to have some more information.
Okay, thank you.
I do have a question. I don't know if we have time to talk about it today. Is the DTF still active in Salina, or has it been temporarily disbanded?
DTF?
The Drug Task Force?
We've had to combine our staff due to staffing reasons. We're approved 84 sworn officers, and as of today, we're at 69 sworn, and 10 of those are in training. And so some of that staff, including Officer Melby, has been moved from his position within the Drug Task Force to a patrol position, as well as some others. And we've essentially combined what staff we have into one unit. And certainly, if there are drug concerns as well as any other criminal concerns, they're all working on it, if that answers your question.
But we don't have a dedicated team that's specifically working to kind of help eradicate the drug trafficking here in Saline County or Salina?
Not in the same way that we've had it previously.
Interesting.
But that's not to say, of course, that we're not investigating drug crimes. If they're receiving information, or there's information that's received from patrol activities that would warrant us to use detectives for that, we have people available to investigate it.
One other question. I saw in the newspaper quite a time back about having mental health staff join with the police department. So any updates on that?
Yeah, actually, that was something on November 21st that was also taken to the City Commission that day, was for approval to enter into an agreement with the county and Central Kansas Mental Health for a co-responders unit, and fund 2 positions for therapists to work with the Sheriff's Department, Police Department, and be actual employees of Central Kansas Mental Health, and to respond to some of the mental health calls that we have, and then also provide feedback or follow-up with these individuals, following the initial call, that those individuals can work on, helping them get services, maybe appointments, maybe medication, or just checking in with them in general.
And we do plan to bring a little bit more information about that once we talked about it a little bit at the last board meeting, but we felt like it was a little bit premature to bring it at this meeting, so hopefully the next one we can have some people on board and be a little bit more down the road on that and have a little bit more to report about what they're doing and maybe even some of the, progress that they've made. So hopefully, now that the agreement's approved, we should be able to get people on board here in the next 60 days and actually start the program and start doing some of that work. So we do certainly anticipate we'll bring something back to the board. And hopefully we'll have some people on board that can come here and have some actual responders or people that are hired that can come and speak to the work that they're doing. So
Excellent.
So it's on my list of things to bring back to you.
Great. That's all I have. So are we ready to go to executive session?
I think so.
Okay.
How long do you think we'll need?
I think 35 minutes we should be good.
So I'll make a motion that we move the board to recess into executive session for 35 minutes for the purpose of deliberating in the manner outlined by Salina Code Section 30-93D upon subject of whether the preliminary administrative determination by the chief of police in relation to a complaint regarding the conduct of a police officer is supported by substantial competent evidence based upon the need to discuss personnel matters of non-elected personnel pursuant to KSA 75-4319B1. The open meeting will resume in this room at 5:15 or 5:17 p.m.
So we need a second and a vote.
Is there a second?
Second.
So it is so moved that we adjourn for executive session.
So we need a vote on that. So
I jumped the gun again. So, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it has
I'm
been
going
moved.
to go to the side room. That executive session will include myself, Chief Morton, and then Lieutenant Feldman as well.
So I'd like to call the meeting back into order after our consultation.
And so if the board wants to take action on this complaint, we would do that at this time.
Is somebody going to make a motion?
We just have to read that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'll do it. The Citizens Review Board members, upon review of the complaint in executive session, makes its advisory determination that the preliminary administrative determination of the status of the complaint is not supported by substantial competent evidence.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Yes, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion stands as moved.
Yeah, and actually, we'd need to do that as a roll call vote, if we can do that.
Sure. Okay.
Okay.
And you
Tina
can,
Berenger,
you can just say aye.
Aye.
Chris Gritner,
Aye.
Deborah Shetler,
Aye.
Teresa Hernandez,
Aye.
Claudia Hadnot,
Aye.
Aaron Milby,
Aye.
Alicia Strang,
Aye.
So that motion passes unanimously. And I think that's it for the board, unless you have something else. Anybody have anything they would like, then we would take a motion to adjourn.
A motion that we adjourn?
I make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We now stand adjourned. Thank you.
All right, thank you.